Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Ask Shane. This video is brought to you by the Academy of Holistic Mediumship in working partnership with www.shanegad.com. So I've got two fantastic questions for you this week. The first from a lady called Elizabeth and the other question from a lady called Janet Chalmers. So here's the questions, guys. Dear Shane, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I wanted to know if you knew what Ascension was. I'm aware of this on certain levels. Thank you kindly. Much love, Elizabeth. Fantastic question. Can't wait to get my teeth into that one with you. And then the next question from a lady called Janet Chalmers. Hi Shane, I found that very interesting. She's talking about my latest video on the veil. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. I found that video very interesting. Do you think that moon phases and extreme weather affect the veil? From an energy point of view, if that makes sense. Janet Chalmers. Okay, so let's look at both of those questions. We're going to weave them together. We're going to weave those questions together. I think, I've reflected on this so many times on so many occasions. I think everyone seems to have possibly a different understanding of what a spiritual ascension means, and I've always said, and I will always say, I'm a student of life, and I'm a student of the innate, and I think that we're forever growing, we're forever learning. So for me, these are my feelings, my experiences of how I connect to the innate and how I connect to all of this. And I think the thing is, there's so much information out there. There's just heaps and heaps of information out there, which in a way may not help, because we just get flooded with information that we can almost become a little bit disorientated. So my question is, to Elizabeth, what do you feel Ascension is, and what is Ascension to you? Okay, so what I'm saying here is we can be flooded with information, but it's about kind of internalizing and feeling and checking in to how we understand that and how we navigate our path. I will share with you my thoughts and feelings, but at the same time, the innate always says to me, it's really important that we kind of connect to those questions that we ask and internalize. What you're doing is you're looking for another perspective. You're looking for to explore it, which absolutely is key. Exploring and kind of sharing is absolutely vital to our development and growth. At the same time, it is that sense of navigating and going inward, and working with your relationship to how you see it. I love your question. And I think there is so much information out there that it can almost, in a way, be quite disorientating. Personally, I believe that almost all definitions of kind of what I've come across, all definitions of spiritual ascension are possibly right, because without a doubt it's multi-layered concept, and a multi-layered experience that can't just be shoved into one simple kind of box, and it can't be that easy, because it is multi-layered. However, I believe from my own experience that it is a natural evolutional process. What we're talking about is a natural evolutional process that as souls, as individuals, we are evolving, which in that process it's about shedding, really important, really key here. It's about shedding the old self and in a way experiencing in a rebirth. I know within my own experience, with my own journey, especially over these last 27 years, I've gone through many lives, many sheds and deaths of the old self, and many births of new versions, or is it the evolving version of self, many people speak about spiritual ascension in terms of being rebooted or downloads and upgrades, and I think all of that is key. Language is a powerful thing. All the time we're being elevated. We're raising our awareness and our consciousness and our vibrational frequency. All of these terms are a way of referring to that inner evolution, because it is an inner evolution. I often say to the people that I am really honoured to work with, you're living inside out. It's that inner evolution. You're living inwardly out. Okay, there's the thought. And it's the expansion of the heart, of the mind, of the soul. And also I think the other thing with that is it's where the mind and the heart and the soul begin to all work together. They begin to unify. They begin to harmonize and unite. You've known those times within your life. You would have seen it with people around you where there's that tug of war going on between head and heart, between mind and heart. Head and heart just kind of tugging away at each other in opposites, contrasts, and it's like this sense of contradiction. And I think that as we evolve, as we ascend, if you like, as we evolve, I like the word evolve, as we evolve, all of that just merges and it harmonizes, as the name implies, spiritual ascension is about reaching those new heights. It's that new level of awareness, and transcending, old limiting habits. Anyone that's climbed a mountain, you will get that sense of euphoria at some level as you reach the summit. So we're rising. We're the innate often talk about it, about illuminating and standing tall. All the kind of clues are there. And what we're doing, we're transcending limiting habits, limiting beliefs, limiting ways of being, limiting mindsets. I think back on my own journey. I've shifted and shifted and reshifted. I can remember a good friend of mine talking about a dream they had last year, winter solstice, which is 2018. And in their dream they had, and I have spoke about this before, they saw this giant wall come crashing down. And they heard it. It was this huge bang and a crash of a wall giving way. I think that's the shift that we all find ourselves in. Something's just given way, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more as we go forwards. But I think that the thing is with those kind of shifts, they can be huge and they can be overwhelming. Spiritual ascension is not all angels and unicorns. It really isn't. It can often be accompanied by severe and shocking shifts that result in what some people have called it, and I think it absolutely really fuses together the experience. They've called it the dark night of the soul. Where you kind of eradicate or dissolve or kind of see it as burn your old identity. I can remember as a teenager growing up here in the UK, running with a lot of friends who were into scooters, as in the old Vespas and Lambrettas, and we was all wandering around with Parkers, and I still very very fond of those days, because I met the most incredible people, but I also were again living on the fringe of things. It was on the edge of things. This wasn't mainstream. But I can remember the day where I'm walking along and I suddenly stop. I look down at myself and thought, I can't do this anymore. And I remember walking back home, taking off my Parker jacket, and sitting there and thinking, but what now? My whole identity of who I knew I was had just dissolved, and it's not like that I could continue with it. There's something in me that had evolved beyond that, but it was within a moment. But it meant my whole relation and orientation to the world around me at that time had dissolved and changed. And I think these are really powerful experiences, especially their rites of passage. You're growing up and you're very influential and influenced by the world around you, and your peers and your friends, and the way you relate to the world, and your identity. And for me, all of that just collapsed and dissolved. And for a while, I had this feeling of feeling lost. There's been multiple shifts like that. But as you go forwards, the transitions become easier. They are dark nights of the soul. How to know if you've experienced one? Think back. Here's the key. Think back to the kind of person you were, say, 1 to 3 years ago. Are you pretty much the same person? Are you the same person? I think not. Okay. Have you been through some major life-enhancing positive shifts? Absolutely, no doubt. Love to hear about them. Love for you to share them. If you've changed in a good way, you're likely experiencing that kind of awakening. That type of awakening is caused when your previously repressed, ignored, or shunned parts of the personality have been integrated into creating more wholeness. I know there's many shifts I've been through, and even the one I've been through in the last year or so, is I know I feel even more integrated and even more whole, reclaiming parts of myself that go back right back into my childhood, and I may be even beyond, depending what our beliefs are, for the tradition and the path that I now feel fully aligned to and feel fully integrated in. It goes back to when you're a child, you illuminated and you shine, and you just kind of have that magic in your heart, and as we grow, it kind of gets rubbed out of us at some level through conditioning, through schooling, through parenting, from the world around us and how the system defines us, and then there's a sense of reclaiming it, but you shift. They're very powerful, and then there's that sense of integration, that sense of wholeness. I think even the earth and the land beneath our feet is ascending. If we look out, the current state of the world and humanity, it can appear like, very overwhelming or even frightening. Yeah, I kind of feel that everything is in a kind of divine right order and a divine right timing. It too is evolving. That whole kind of sense of chaos that's in the world, that's being portrayed by the governments all around the world. We're seeing it. If you ever kind of watch the news, I know many people don't, but you see it playing out. And it's almost as if it's an act of desperation to attempt to stop what's kind of happening. They don't want us all waking up. They don't want us all kind of, realizing that the illusion that we've been fed is only but an illusion. Your success is defined by a series of this, and this, and you're only successful if you do this, and this. Yet in your heart, I think there are so many people waking up and saying, wow, this can't be life, and wanting to seek out a more meaningful, more purposeful, a more balanced way of being. But that means walking away from certain kind of beliefs and certain frameworks and certain ideas. I think humanity is in a huge shift. And as they say, the darkest hour is before dawn. There is so much here to consider, but I think that it is a natural evolutional process that we're in and the land beneath our feet is in. So therefore, there's a synergy, there is a relationship, there's an interwoven relationship between the two, and one affects the other, which goes on to Janet's question at the top of the video. Janet's question there. Hi Shane, I found your recent video interesting on the veil. Do you think that moon phases and extreme weather affect the veil from an energy point of view, if that makes sense? I've known many people say, do you know what, when they have a bath, for instance, when they have a bath, the answers just seem to come to them, so they're having a bath, relaxing, and then suddenly some of those questions that they'd be trying to get to the bottom of come to them. It's almost like the realization, it just happens. So there's a connection between water and, water is a conductor. Water is a conductor. It absolutely conducts energy. So maybe that's why suddenly those answers just drop into your awareness, because there's an element of connection. I know when I'm around water, I look out on a large expanse of water, I feel lifted, I feel illuminated, so I absolutely feel there is a relationship to the natural elements within the world, i.e. weather patterns and all those things, without a doubt affect us. The moon phase, without a doubt, is going to affect us energetically. We're 65% water. The moon pulls the tide, so it's going to pull us, and I have shared that in previous videos. But I think that's quite, it is quite fascinating that you can be swimming in the ocean and then suddenly, or you're having a bath, and suddenly you just get this kind of epiphany to some of those challenges you've been trying to get to the bottom of. Why is it people feel calm around water? Why do they feel soothed around gentle running water, or invigorated by crashing waterfalls, or feeling heightened and elevated standing on top of a mountain? We are completely entwined to the land beneath our feet. I hope that has been of help. I hope that stirred up some thoughts. I'd love to hear your experiences around shifts, evolution and ascension. Deeper insight is also going to be in the Academy membership portal as well. There'll be a deeper insight within the next day or so as well. As always, it's a great pleasure. Keep shining, guys. Speak soon. Bye bye.